Hello. We're talking about if baby monitors are safe to buy. And I decided that I wanted to have this chat with Kathy. So, Kathy, feel free to introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, and then we'll begin.
Okay, great. Yeah, so my name is Kathy Pedraez. Faraday, Fareedah and I met through Instagram, right? Right? Through
I think it was
Instagram,
either Instagram or TikTok.
or
I saw
maybe
all of
maybe
your
a
awesome videos.
combination.
Yes. Yeah, it's a combination of everything.
Yeah. So anyways, and I guess she reached out to me because I'm a new mom, but I'm also really into, cybersecurity and data privacy and that whole space that she talks about all the time. So I'm hyper conscious about that as well, but I'm also a new mom who's in the market for all these products. And I talk about this
And
stuff on my pages too. Yeah.
you honestly, like, your videos are like perfection. I love it. Most people would most likely know who you are, but if you happen to not know who she is, like, absolutely check her content out. It's
Oh,
absolutely
and
amazing.
I usually wear a blue dress, but I'm in a blue
And then I
blazer
wear
because
pink, isn't it?
I didn't notice that.
I always wear pink, and it's funny because, like, your blue is the
Oh my
blue of,
gosh,
like,
I
the
didn't.
icon right in front of you. Like, there's pink for mine, and there's like blue. Yeah, but every video, I never wear anything besides pink when I'm online. It's always
I
like bright pink.
never, I never noticed that. That's so weird. I guess I'm just
Isn't it
looking at your
crazy?
face, and I
Yes.
never. Oh, okay. Well, now I'm
Yeah.
now I'm gonna
Now
notice.
you know. Yeah, I'm always wearing like pink. Pink is like my main thing that I always wear. And so,
Okay.
okay, so I posted this video on Instagram. I can't remember what her name is. Oh my God. But she always posts about like things that are happening in law and tech and privacy, and how Ring is in trouble with the FTC now because the
Hmm.
employees were looking into the camera. And so everyone in my comments were like, oh my God, like, no one should have a Wi-Fi connected camera or baby monitors. You all are gullible. You shouldn't have bought these things from the begin with. And I wanted to know your thoughts on this entire subject, on Ring, on baby monitors, on cameras, as someone who has been working in the privacy, security, and safety field. So I want to know your
Yeah,
thoughts. Like, begin.
it's interesting because I have all those things, right? Like I have Ring, I have Blink, I have Simply Safe, I have my Wi-Fi baby cameras. And I'm comfortable with it to a certain extent. I mean, listen, these things obviously happen, right? But it happens in like the thousands, maybe, and out of the millions of users, like that's just not a high enough ratio for me to like change to. I guess I weigh out like the pros and cons. And like the cons are if it did happen to me, I unplug it. It's like not to me, it doesn't seem like that crazy. And then I could purchase something else. In terms of my son's monitors and stuff like that, I did notice recently that Nana, and by the way, the only reason why I got Nana, I don't like it's just marketing. Like I'm like, I don't know. I looked up some baby lists on I don't know, Bye Bye Baby when that existed and whatever. And it was one of the top recommended. And I was like, oh, it's expensive. It must be good. Like, that that's the extent of my camera research, I guess, because it's just too overwhelming. You're buying too many things. And I just went with like third party reviews. But anyhow, so yeah, so when I did see something on the app the other day that was like a boosted security setting, I think it was probably in response to some of this Ring drama that's going on. But ultimately, what I do is I have my cameras. I do have a backup audio camera. So I'm sorry, not audio camera, just an audio only monitor. So I can hear what's happening in the room at all times, like even if the camera goes out or whatever, because sometimes that happens. And then some of the things that I do is like updating the apps, updating your router. I have an email that's only for my like smart home stuff. So
Smart.
yeah, so it reduces, the chances that it gets leaked in some Marshall's data breach or whatever, or like some school data breach because I just use it for that. And it's not perfect, but and I have, my password that again is just used for that. And so I try to take things to just make it harder for somebody to access my cameras. Of course, the two-factor authentication, all of that stuff. And for now, I'm like comfortable with that. Like maybe that'll change in the future because it'll become such a big problem, in which case I unplug it and buy something else.
I like
Or
your
hopefully at
whole
that point they won't need it anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? But I like your viewpoint on it, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to worry so much about it. I'm not going to feel like, okay, I can't get a baby monitor. I can't get a camera because it could be hacked or whatever. Because technically speaking, everything and anything can be hacked. Like your Instagram account, your
Even
social
the
media account.
offline. Yeah, even the offline cameras could theoretically be hacked if somebody came in
Yeah.
and like installed some malware, or maybe from the manufacturer they install it and you don't even know. I mean, in theory, anything could be hacked, right? So like, I feel like I can't be afraid of everything. A
That's
little
true.
concerned.
So if someone is wanting to get an online camera and they don't know how to secure it, would what you just said, like the passwords, the two-factor authentication, updating it, is that enough? Or do you feel like there are certain companies they should stay away from?
Oh,
Or
you know
should you
what?
stick to the big guys?
I do usually feel more comfortable with the big guys just because I feel like they've got the money and and like the concern over their brand reputation more than
Right.
like some of the smaller guys. Like I feel like they, and you know, I don't know, I don't think they enjoy class actions and stuff like that. I'm hoping. um so I do feel more comfortable usually relying on the bigger companies because I just feel like they have the money to protect me better. That may be totally naive because I have no idea. I'm not in the companies. I'm just making assumptions. Um but yeah, and I don't know enough about, you know, like the wireless camera, baby camera market, because like I've kind of just bought whatever was like at the top of the list when I was looking, and since I already have one, I just bought a second of the same exact type. But yeah, but I do feel comfortable generally if it's like a product that, you know, is from a brand that we know and love, that's well reviewed, that, you know, parents are talking about online, that they're feeling comfortable with, the pixels and all that stuff, the connection, all that stuff works great, then I feel comfortable with, you know, adjusting my settings, adjusting my habits around like the emails and passwords and all that stuff. And I think one thing that people do forget to do is, you know, like updating router kind of firmware stuff, making sure you have a password on that stuff to begin with. A lot of people, myself included, I only did this a couple of years ago because I didn't even know you could do it. Changing that default like admin password where it's like, you know, you type in your like IP address and then you literally, the password's admin, and like I could get into any router. Like, I mean, I guess you have to be close, but yeah, like that kind of stuff. I would change all of that stuff. And I know it's hard to remember the passwords, especially like a router password, like that doesn't get saved on my password. So I just put like a post-it note on the back of my physical router. So, I mean, theoretically somebody could steal it, but they'd have to also be in my house.
Yeah. And if they're in your house, you have bigger things to worry about than them being on your internet. Like,
yeah.
I always tell people, like, I have like a password book. Like I have one password and I absolutely love one password, but I have a password book as well as a backup. And people are like, well, I thought they said to not write down your passwords. And I'm like, yeah, you don't write down your passwords for other people to see. Like if you're at work and you put it in a post-it note on your camera at work and everyone who's coming by is like, oh yeah, that's the password to get into your computer. No, you don't do that. But when you're at home, like you already have sensitive documents, like your tax documents, your insurance documents, the social security number, your passport. So it's already in your house. So a password book, I mean, I'm worried about my life. I'm worried about other things being stolen. Like I can change my passwords. Like
yeah, I do the same thing. I also have a password book, and then I also have password managers like on my browsers and stuff like that. Also because I feel like sometimes the password manager has saved the wrong thing, or sometimes I'm like, I don't know, doing something on my phone, or you know, I just like having the option. Yeah, and it is a lot. My password manager has like almost 400 accounts saved on it.
Yeah,
90% of which I don't even use anymore. So I'm like, I don't even know what this is. I must have signed up in college 400 years ago, and it's still.
Is there like a particular password manager you like, or is there you don't really care?
I think, I mean, I guess it depends on the situation, right? Because, and I know you and I have talked about this a little bit before, but it is nice to go with a company that like specializes in one thing. But, you know, budget is also an issue too. And now there's so many password managers that are like included in so many cybersecurity platforms. Like I know Aura it comes included. Norton, it comes included with your browsers. It comes included. And so, you know, if that works for you, then I feel like it
Yeah.
is what it is. It's definitely better than not having anything.
It is better. I feel like it's like the middle ground between having a dedicated one and then not having one. Like having a browser one is okay. And I feel like Aura has a couple of like apps for kids as well, because I know they're doing a big push for that. So what do you think about Aura? What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts, or is it?
Yeah, well, at first I was like, oh, it seems like Norton is still maybe a little bit better. When they first came out, because they were limited, but now they've expanded to so many features that I'm like, I actually can't even, like, I can't even, like, I don't even think their website does them justice because they have so much. I think some of the ones that I like is helping with the data broker thing. I still have a separate service that like works.
Me too.
Two separate services actually that works extra hard to try to remove the data broker stuff. So and then of course, you know, you kind of still have to do it on your own because they're not perfect. But but you know, Aura has that, which I think is pretty cool. I really like the ability with them to lock your credit with Experian, because last I checked, Experian was charging $20 a month to be able to do that online. And it was like a monthly fee if you want to do it online. You can always call and do it. Yeah. But with Aura, it's built in. So it's like, if you're going to pay for a platform, you might as well. Now, it doesn't have TransUnion and the other one, but I guess Experian's like the big one. So that's built in. I thought that was super cool. They have the app now. When I first heard about them, they didn't have the app. And then, of course, the financial stuff, you know, like, I know this may not matter to everybody because if you're younger, you probably don't have like that much credit card stuff that you're worrying about. But anyhow, but yeah, all the like financial fraud stuff. You know, I have the family account with Aura now, and so my husband just got an alert like 2 days ago saying that an account was added to like his credit report, and he's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I don't know. Log in and check it." You gotta look. But I do like that, you know, and it tells you like when your credit goes up and down, which I know your bank does too, but I am kind of into some of the financial features that I use pretty regularly. And then the rest of the stuff, it's kind of just like, running, and I assume it's doing its job.
Do you feel like with like smart home safety and like having these cameras, having all these apps, do you like to separate your network, or do you like, you know, I'm not going to bother with that. So long as I have my passwords and two-factor authentication, everything, we're good to go. How do you feel about that conversation?
I kind of had to separate my network, but then they're constantly like falling in and out, like the signal. I have the worst signal in my house. I have like 6 extenders throughout everything. And so anyway,
6?
so technically,
oh my God,
it's insane. I don't know. You would think I live. Actually, I had better like cell service in Cuba. Like really. So it's really bad. So anyway, so technically I do have like 4 different networks to sign into, but I end up just using one for most things because it's just constantly like falling in and out.
See, I love this because there's a lot of like security or safety advice that we say and we do, but sometimes practically speaking in your life, something may not work. And so you have to take like a shortcut or a different way of approaching it. And I'm still in research on like the companies that I'm going to recommend with baby monitors and security cameras. Like, okay, of course we can go with the bigger companies. And I'm like, yeah, if it's a bigger company, I have that same mindset where most likely they're going to have the security, the safety, the privacy team to make sure that things are secure. And so when something does come out, they're on fire to actually make sure it's changed. When it's a small company, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the funding, they don't have the team. And so things just remain open and unsecure for a very long time. And so this can happen to any company. It's just disappointing that they didn't have some safeguards in terms of who is being able to access certain things. But when that video went viral, I didn't like some of the commentary in the comments where it was like, well, why would you even have a smart camera or a baby monitor in your house? Like, go check on your child. Like, why do you need that? Or why do you need a camera in your house? Like, you shouldn't want someone to be watching you. You already know these are surveillance cameras.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I will say right now I have babies, right? So there's, you know, they still might, well, especially the baby that's coming. Actually, today's my due date, but it's not here. So anyway, um, so when that baby comes, you know, there's risks of SIDS and, you know, choking or getting the arm stuck in the crib. There's all kinds of things that you need to be like hyper vigilant on. And unless you're sleeping on the floor of the bedroom, even then you're still not going to see it, you know? So, so anyway, so right now my kids are like babies, but I think like when they are older, I probably wouldn't have a camera in their room anymore. Just because I don't think it's necessary. Like I don't have a camera in my bedroom. You know, I have it in the living spaces, by the front door, like the public areas where I have no expectation of ever being like naked walking around or whatever, you know? But I think like once they're older and they're in that space where they're changing in their room and all that stuff, which by the way, my kid's camera doesn't even face where I change him now. You know, it's really just focused on like the sleep hazard thing. But but anyways, yeah, I think I would be more cautious of that just in case. I don't know, just in case. I don't want that being stored anywhere. I don't want anyone from any company being able to access it. I will say, I don't know if this is going to be something that changes, but so I recently did a campaign with Simply Safe, and they have their indoor wireless smart camera, and it has a shutter so that if you're not, so if you're in your app and looking at the camera, the shutter opens and you can see it. If the camera is alarmed, like it's, yeah, if the alarm is on and then the alarm gets set off, then the shutter will open so that, you know, you could see it, or if you're paying for the live monitoring service, that the agents can see it. But otherwise, there's like a physical shutter that closes. Plus, there's the indicator light. But I was like, well, maybe other brands will kind of turn to that too as like an extra safeguard to just
I
make
mean,
people feel more comfortable. Yeah, I
hopefully.
know. Well, we had it on. Remember when computers had? Wait,
The little
what is? Yeah,
the cameras, the physical things on the cameras.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of laptops now don't even come with
No,
the
I mean my camera
built-in.
right now has that. Like it has like it's a little contraption where it's physically on the camera. So when I'm not using it, I just close it down,
Yeah,
and so I can
yeah, and
feel
you could buy the
safer.
extra ones
Yeah, you can
too.
buy the extra one too. So this one came with it, which is why I liked it. So I said, you know, I don't feel like finding one that fits on the camera and doing that whole thing and it
Hmm.
doesn't fit. And I was like, whatever, let's just get one that already has one.
Yeah.
And then of course there's those little sticky things that you could put on your laptop where it opens and closes, but it
Hmm.
stays like physically on the laptop forever. And that's one I have because I mean, to be honest, as someone who always uses my camera, it's not advantageous to put a post-it note or a sticky note because I always have to take it on and off, and then it's going to
Yeah.
get dirty and, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But one thing about security I always say is that security is about deciding what's the greater risk. And so is a
Hmm.
greater risk that something's going to happen to your child, or is a greater risk that someone is going to hack into your device and talk to your child or whatever it is? And there is a
Right.
more probability that something could happen to your child, you're not there. That is more life altering than a hacker getting into your camera. Not to say that both are
Yeah.
not traumatizing, they are traumatizing, but at the same time, it's like, okay, what do I care most about? What's the greater risk? And then let's just go with the safest option here. And I'm assuming you're agreeing with that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I mean, even in that worst case scenario of a hacker getting into the camera or whatever, like, yes, it's an invasion of privacy. It's creepy for sure. But like, what are they doing really? I just unplug it and update my system because it likely happened because I didn't do some update. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times it's probably like some kid in their mom's basement who's like, let me see what I can do. I don't know. Like, I don't think, because if you're like a sophisticated cyber criminal, that's not making you money, is it? I don't know. Are you going to extort me when I could just easily unplug you? I feel like it's likely, well, I guess you could extort if I was naked in front of the camera. Then you've got something. So that goes back to my like not in the private spaces thing. But yeah, I guess it's super creepy. I definitely don't want it to happen. But in the worst case scenario that it did happen, I could unplug it. And I also think a lot of times parents are concerned because this has been happening for weeks or months and they never knew, because they never heard that this person was talking to their kids and the kids got scared or something. But I have a backup audio only monitor that isn't connected to Wi-Fi or anything like that. Although sometimes it does pick up some radio signals from the area. I've definitely noticed that. It's like the old school walkie-talkies. There's been like 2 or 3 times where I'm like, why am I hearing whatever it is? But for the most part, it works fine. So if someone was talking to my kid, like if the camera got hacked and someone was, sharing like nightmarish kind of scenarios to my kid through the camera, I would hear it right away. So I feel like I have a couple safeguards in place that, make me more comfortable with it. And I'm definitely way more concerned about something happening in the middle of the night, like a SIDS thing or a blanket over the face. Well, I mean, at this age, he's old enough to have a blanket, but when they're really little, they don't even have a blanket. But yeah, I'm definitely way more concerned about that kind of stuff than I am about a hacker at this point.
So what brand of like walkie-talkie or audio only, not walkie-talkie, why did I say walkie-talkie?
It's basically a walkie-talkie.
It's basically a walkie-talkie. So what brand do you like? Do you remember the brand that you got? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's VTech, and it was cheap. It was like $40, but with the registry discount thing that you add, it was like an extra 15 or something % off. So it came out to like $35. I got it for a couple reasons. One, I wanted something to be able to travel with also, because my camera's like drilled into the wall. So I wanted something that was easy to travel with, which I actually would be open to buying a camera for that reason too. Like I do have little portable mini like Blink cameras and stuff like that I could probably take with me also, but I wanted something portable that I could move around the house. And it came with 2 of the parent listening systems. So I have one like downstairs, one upstairs with us. So the range isn't, phenomenal. Like it's not like you could be at your neighbor's house or something, but for in the house, which I wouldn't leave my kid at yeah, like even at the neighbor's house. But anyhow, that's the one I got. And again, I didn't do like any tremendous amount of research. I just kind of went on Amazon for that one and was like 2-way audio monitor, and it popped up and it got a lot of reviews, so I just bought it.
And then Nanit is another one that you use that you're liking. I believe you said you like that. Is it Nanit?
Yeah, it's the Nanit. I think. Yeah, I don't know if it's one. Yeah, one N. I think I bought it because I thought I would use the that oxygen monitoring. They have some technology built into their bed sheets and pajamas, and they have like a little strap that you can put around the baby's body. That based on like the dots and the pixel. Anyways, it registers like if the baby's breathing, if the baby, and then it'll alert you or whatever. I thought I was going to use that, and that's part of the reason why I bought it to begin with. I didn't really end up using those features, even though I bought the stuff to do it. And then I was just like, I was freaked out by the contraption that goes around the belly, because I was like, oh, I didn't swaddle my son. So I was like, oh, this is kind of like a swaddle. It's like an extra thing in the bed. What if it comes off? Like, I don't know. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just not the safest thing. I'll just put a regular pajama. And they do sell the pajama version too. So I just didn't end up buying it. But anyhow, so I just use it as a regular camera. But I do like that. In addition to that, with the audio and all of that, it does tell me the temperature of the room too, which I'm sure a lot of cameras do that. Again, I didn't, because for me to compare, I'd have to buy like,
you have to do a lot of research. Yeah. And then you have to figure, like, there's not a lot of in-depth research into all of the cameras and the best ones. I mean, there are nice amounts, but not in the way that you would want it to be. And so for you to do like the full thorough research on what's going to work for safety, security, and your particular situation, you would have to get all of these cameras, like you said, and you're very thorough when it comes to that. And so that's like, I believe that's going to be a headache. Like it's too much. Yeah. Well, and you need to get paid to do that.
And to be honest, I hate setting up devices, right? It's like, it's a thing.
Yes,
you got to connect. It doesn't work. You're pressing the reset button, so I used to work for a really, really large retailer where we sold smart home devices. And I think there was a statistic that like 20% of the people, maybe even 30, never took it out of the box. Like they just didn't.
I believe it.
It's because it's a pain to set up. That's why. And so like, I am I willing to try a bunch of cameras? Yeah, but do I really want to? No, I really don't want to.
I got this like smart water bottle where it's like encouraging you to drink more water. and I never used it. Like when I moved to Dallas, I just threw it away. Like I had it for like 6-8 months or something. And I opened it and I looked at the instructions and I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to connect this.
That's funny. My husband actually bought me that for Christmas, but he bought the one that didn't have the straw, and I only like water bottles with a straw. So I was like, no, return it and we'll get the straw. I know it's not a good like aging thing with the lip lines and stuff, but I can't take big swigs. It's too much.
Yeah.
No, well, because you're like, you're like sucking.
It's like you're
get like the little lines. Anyhow, it's fine.
I didn't even think of. Oh, that's interesting. What? People say that with smiles. I was like, you know what? Whatever. Yeah. I'll continue smiling.
I can't do the open box. But yeah, so we returned it and I never actually ended up buying the new one. But now I'm thinking, well, maybe I wouldn't even use it. I don't know. I am addicted to water though. Like I drink a lot of water.
Okay, I need to get addicted to water. Let me change my lifestyle habits so I can be addicted to water. Like I'm addicted to Zivia, but I have like LED lights and I never set, where is it? Oh, I never set these up because I was like, I don't feel like setting it up because it's supposed to light the entire thing.
I actually did try setting mine up. And of course, most of those types of light things only work on the 2.4 like gigahertz or whatever Wi-Fi thing. And most of it's the 5. And so even though I was trying to connect, the whole, it's a pain.
Oh my God.
I'm like, we're on 5 now. Can we like update these systems? But no, they can't.
Oh my God. It's interesting because people think, because we work in tech, we talk about safety and security. Like we are all like for setting up devices and we find it really fun. I'm like, no, absolutely not. It's like, it's very time consuming. It's a headache. I hate it. And half the reasons why I don't have a lot of smart home things is because I don't feel like setting it up. And so, I mean, I may get a couple of things, but still I don't want to set things up, especially because I'm thinking about the safety and the security, and then I have to do all of this. You have to set up this email, I have to set up a password, and do this. It's like I don't want to do it.
I know I can totally relate. Like for some things, it's just a necessity. Like my cameras outside of the house or whatever. Like actually one of my cameras in the backyard. Yeah, it's a necessity. One of my cameras in the backyard went out for like a week, but also I'm super pregnant. I was like, should I climb up there on a ladder? And then it just started working again. I was like, oh, good. Right. God did it for me.
Right. It's like it just set itself up.
Yeah. So some things I feel like, you have to, and I'll sit there, and especially if you're like just moving and you have to start going through everything all over again, it's a pain. But yeah, I agree. Setting this stuff up is definitely not super easy. And it's inconvenient, and you have other things to do, right? Like, are you going to make dinner, or are you going to sit for? The other thing is that you never know the time commitment. Like everything has their quick start guide, and it's like 15 minutes. Is it 15 minutes or is it an hour and a half? You don't know.
It's an hour and a half. I would say like 5 hours of your time. Like you do increments where it's like 1 hour for like 5 days or 7 days, where you just dedicate that time. It's like you're working, you're in a meeting. It's very important. You're like, hey, no one bother me. Something happens, whatever, you have to get up, you have to deal with that. You come back. Like I always say, always takes 3-4 times longer than you think when it comes to tech. So just like take that time. And then, I mean, it's great. YouTube's great because you can Google things. You can see like how do people set it up on YouTube. I don't particularly love reading instructions. I'm like, I will figure it out person.
Me neither.
I hate instructions. I want it to be there, but most instructions aren't even good. So I'm just like, don't even, you know what? I'll go to YouTube or I'll figure this out. Like, I don't want to do this. So I saw that you posted something oh, go ahead.
Oh, the only times that I'm super cautious about instructions is like when I'm building a crib, because I just want to be like, I want to make sure that the nuts and bolts are where they belong.
Yeah, that's important. That would be like one of the. You're like, that doesn't really matter. But the crib, I mean, it makes sense. So I saw that you posted like your maternity photo shoot, and you said you did like a privacy focused one. So how did that come about? Did you get someone who knew fully?
No, that's the thing is actually I've even tried Googling this, like, because I wasn't even sure if I was giving it the right name by saying privacy minded mature. I was like, is that the term that people are using, or are people not using it? Anyway, so I even tried going to Google and like just searching, all these key terms, and nothing came up. And I was like, I know people are talking about it online.
Yeah.
Definitely, but I couldn't find like if there was a specific term that people are using. So anyways, so no, I just went for a regular maternity shoot. And then because I'm taking pictures for the house and all that too. And
Yeah,
so
it doesn't matter.
um but I told them from the beginning, I want to make sure I have some images that I can share on social media that I'm more comfortable with. And so some of the ones that, I guess are easy go-tos are like the dark silhouette, and they look really pretty too. Or the ones where you just slightly angle the face a little differently. Like I've definitely done that for, a Mother's Day photo at home, or like when I got my master's, I was holding my son and I just angled I took some where he's facing the camera for the house, and then I just turned him around where he's facing me for social media, and that was really it. We take like two versions. And I'm not even it's weird because like I don't even really know where I stand on that. Like I want to share pictures of my family and stuff, even a little bit, maybe not everything because I'm not like a parenting page, but I really want to. But I just feel like every time I get maybe a little bit comfortable with it, something new comes out and I'm like, nope, uncomfortable again.
No. It's like an ebb and
It's
flow.
yeah, a little bit. And there is a bit of a movement. I guess because in some ways if you're not sharing pictures, you feel left out, right? Like you're like the only one who's really taking this hard stance. You're like in that 2% or maybe 5% or whatever. But I feel like it is becoming a larger movement. There are celebrities and stuff like that that are not sharing pictures of their kids. And there's definitely more awareness about, what people on social media are using these photos for and stuff like that. Because there's the cyber concern about it with, identity theft or all of that stuff. But then there's the maybe even scarier stuff, which is, like some predator using some AI or not because they just really like kids eating apples or something, like just some weird stuff. And so I'm like, I guess so anyways, I try to just I guess err on the side of caution. But even though I really don't want to, I want to share because he's so cute. But I
It
just
really
try to be
is though.
careful.
So like
He's so
what
cute.
pictures do you decide to post? Because he's absolutely adorable. And like, so what do you decide? Like, is there a picture where you go, you know what? I'm gonna share this, but even though it's not at the right angle or whatever it is, like what goes through your mind when you're sharing a post?
So I've done one where I shared, and it was the cover to a reel. So it wasn't even like really a post. It was like a cover, which you could screenshot and zoom in and whatever. What I did notice recently, and at my old job, they had told us this too. They had said, don't share pictures of your kids online because you don't want like creep showing up to their school or whatever. They were concerned about a physical safety thing. But they did say, and I did notice this with my own son, is like the baby pictures look so different from what he looks like now. Like baby, I'm talking like that newborn stage or whatever. So I'm like, oh, I probably could have shared a little bit of that, not permanently, but like maybe on a story or something. And I wouldn't have been as concerned just because, but I didn't know at the time. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, I probably could have shared that because he's changed so much. And also, I don't know, I've been meaning to test AI with this kind of stuff too, is I don't know how great it is at identifying different types of babies. Like, I feel like they look pretty similar.
I agree.
So I don't know if it's good at even doing that kind of stuff. I had an experience not that long ago. I want to say about a year and a half ago, where I tried using like an AI search software to try to find my like sister's social media profiles and stuff like that, because she had some public ones that we didn't know about. And anyway, she had run away, so it was like a whole thing. And I was trying to find these profiles so that I could then find who's following her and who has access and do the whole thing. And I uploaded pictures of her, and it found like one account, one picture from when she was 8 years old, like 10 years ago. I was like, this is not a great AI search
No.
thing. But I don't know if it's because she was a child. I don't know. It did find an 8-year-old picture of her, maybe 9, but it didn't really find any of her other profiles. And I was like, she's like a teenager. Like she looks like an adult, but I don't think it was able to just do a great job with the facial recognition. It could have been that specific software, you know, that's not like military grade software. That's a 20 bucks
Yeah,
online
that's true.
software.
Yeah, it was probably
Yeah.
like didn't have all the specifications that other people can have. So as you're creating,
Yeah.
because you're a content creator, you're a major content creator, and you talk a lot about safety and security. Have you thought about, and I'm pretty sure you have, but I don't know if you're ready to have like a public comment on it, but have you thought about, am I going to use my child for certain like videos where it's like, oh, this is a safety toy for a child, or you know, this is the crib situation, or this is maybe you're getting like a bouncy house or whatever it is. Have you thought about whether or not you're going to use your son and now your daughter for content, or do you feel like it's good, bad? How do you feel about it?
So I've talked to other safety creators who do use their kids in like certain things, like say there's like a swim safety video and they're talking about a floaty or whatever. And they have said they haven't had any issues so far, like no weird creep showing up in the whatever. I will say my audience, maybe your audience too, probably were women. So like, you know, 85% of us are women. Yeah,
exactly.
So that does make me feel more comfortable, to be honest. But if I had a following, if I had like a parenting page that was 85% men, I would be a little concerned.
No, that I would be concerned for the jump. Even if there's no kids shown, no.
Well, right. I was gonna say, if there's no kids shown and it's like great parenting daddy advice, that would maybe be like the only exception. if it was like trying to target men, but otherwise I'd be concerned. So I have used my kid in some types of photos, but I do the same thing where I'm just holding him and you can't see his face, or like I've set up a camera on the other side of the room and I'm talking to him and engaging with him, so he's looking at my face and the camera's seeing him from behind. And so far with that, I've been comfortable. But I don't know, some people have like some weird stuff out. Like I found out there's people that have like a thing for like baby feet or something.
Yeah.
And for me, I always felt like that was a safe picture, because it's probably, you can't even see the identity of whatever. And maybe it is, I guess people have a feet thing in general, right? So it kind of applies to adults too. And there is a sense of comfort in knowing that you can't see the face or whatever, but not with my kid. Like with me, yes, fine, you can take a picture of my feet, I don't care. But but with my kid, I would draw the line.
There's a line.
Yeah. And so I always felt like, initially when I did my first maternity shoot, actually I did take pictures of the feet and everything, because I thought that was a totally private, acceptable kind of photo. And then recently I learned that some people are into that kind of thing. So I was like, oh, maybe it's not.
There's always something. Like it's
I know.
It's never ending. Like it's always something. You're like, okay, I'll just do the feet. I'll just do a hand. I'll just do like, okay, the back of like they're walking towards something and we're just shooting from the back over here. I mean, you would think, okay, these are totally normal. It's totally fine. It's okay. But then you have stories where kids' photos are being used in other people's Instagram accounts and they're making up stories about the family and about the kid. And they're calling like virtual kidnapping type thing, which is, and they're just claiming that is their child. Of course, there are some where they downloaded the photos and uploaded it into some like site. I'm not even gonna mention all the names because YouTube's not gonna like it, and I don't think I want to trigger anybody right now. But like it's a lot. And so for me, there's a line, there's like a little beautiful, I don't want to call it balance, but like harmony with it, where it's like you're deciding in the moment, is this good? Do I want to post this? Have you thought about like, okay, at what point are you going to ask for consent? Like, is there, because when they're children, they can't give consent. So it's like you as a parent, this is my point of view, you decide what's best for your child. You're you're the caretaker of your child. That's your responsibility. You decide when they're younger, but as they get older, you can involve them in the conversation about, okay, this is going to be posted here. But then of course, there's a whole conversation of, they don't even understand what you mean by consent. So do you have thoughts around that for safety and security?
I feel like I assume that maybe the situation's different for different kids. And I'm hoping to just kind of know as my kids get older and we have these conversations, like to just feel them out. But I don't even know that I would feel, for example, I have a niece who's 10. she loves YouTube. She wants to do YouTube stuff and whatever, because of course she sees all the YouTube families doing all the pranks and all of that. So she's asked me a million times to do like rate this and rate that. And I had even filmed one once. She gave permission, her parents gave permission, everybody gave permission. And I filmed one once, and then I was like, I just never edited it or did anything with it. I was like, I don't know. It just, it's not that it's creepy. It's not, it's just, I guess I don't want to be responsible for somebody else having to like heighten their security levels or something, like say something did become very popular. Like, I don't want that to fall on me. And so when it's my family, it's different, but yeah, I don't know. And I think also in terms of like parents and the whole consent, I feel like as long as you're conscious of it, right? I feel like a lot of what we're seeing on social media is just like a lack of consciousness. And then when something does get brought up to them, like, oh, hey, did you know that your daughter is on this really creepy website now, whatever, the parents get defensive instead of getting like protective of their kid. You know, so it depends. Some people have completely taken down every photo of their kid and been like, oh my God, I had no idea. I'm never doing this again. But then some people get in the, well, that's not my responsibility. That's their creepy people responsibility. And, you know, they get like defensive about it when they are made aware of it, instead of just being like, oh, I had no idea. Thank you so much for bringing this to my attention, you know? And so I think it's that kind of unconsciousness and like lack of protection that, you know, upsets people and is problematic. But I think if you're trying, like, we're going to make mistakes, you know, I'm expected to make, I'm trying not to, but I suspect I will at some point. And so all I can do is try, and that's it.
I'm in the same viewpoint. Like, just because we work in safety and security doesn't mean that we're going to get everything right all the time. We're going to look back at something and go, you know what, that probably wasn't the best decision ever. I could have done this. And everyone can learn through us, from each other, from our experiences. It doesn't have to be like all or nothing. It's just really about living your life, being conscious as you're doing it. And then when you learn new information, you go, okay, how do I apply this in a way that works best for me and my family? Because I don't believe in the notion that no parent should ever post anything about their child online. And if you do, you're a horrible parent. Because I believe we're going from one end of the stick where it's like, oh, you can post everything and anything and all of the moments. It doesn't matter what it is because you're the parent. You can do whatever. And then we're going to the you can't do absolutely anything. And if you post anything, you're absolutely horrible. And so I'm like, okay, let's like just meet somewhere in the middle where we're all conscious of our behavior online and we try to get better every single time. And when new information comes in, we adapt to it. Doesn't mean we can change our stance. We could just go, you know what? I'm still going to post my kid online, but I'll post less of this type of content. Or I will make sure there's a little bit more privacy oriented, or I'll put like a heart on their face, or blur their face out, or they're younger right now and their face hasn't really developed into what it's going to be. Or I'm going to post pictures, but I'm not going to post meltdowns that they've had, or like embarrassing stories, or I'm not going to show where they live, where we live. Now that's the thing with content. It's like you accidentally show where you live because people are like walking around their neighborhood and they're like, look at this really awesome house. And then they show their running routes. It's like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. No, but I agree. I think with the kids thing, there are some very strict boundaries, like those, like, don't traumatize your kids for a couple likes on the internet, you know? Like, I always feel bad around Halloween when they're like scaring the little kids with the mat. Like, that to me makes me cry. I don't enjoy that. Like, I feel bad for this poor little kid. And like, you know, anyway, so yeah, I think there's like hard boundaries at trauma and like embarrassing stuff or bath time stuff or what. I don't care how cute it is. Like, you know, there's some hard lines and then there's some soft lines that are like, I don't know, look, they're taking their first steps.
So what's your hard line?
A personal choice. Yeah, definitely that. I mean, honestly, my son, he's still too little. I guess he hasn't really done anything embarrassing yet, but any of those like embarrassing trauma, like bath time, diaper stuff. I'm trying to think what else I might be missing. I wouldn't be sharing any school uniform kind of stuff either, not just because of the physical threat, but because I've learned that there's a category of people who are into this kind of content. So I just wouldn't, I don't know why they're into school uniforms, but they are. So anyway, so there's like certain lines like that I wouldn't do, but I will share, and again, I try to do the angles either from the top or from the back or whatever. But like my son is really obsessed with Swiffers and cleaning. He loves like vacuuming. He loves Swiffering the house. If you give him a wipe, he starts cleaning. And I think it's so cute and great. And so I have shared him doing that because I'm like, look, he's modeling like what mommy does, you know, like he's learning he's doing what he sees. And so I think like that's really cute. Or I've shared like some of our bedtime stuff since he's going to be a big brother. I had like this Big Brother book, and I just shared me holding the book, and you could kind of see like his little feet in the pajamas, you know, like the little footy pajamas. So you could kind of see that. You see that there's a baby in the picture. It could be a doll. You probably wouldn't know. But yeah, so I've shared those kinds of like little moments, and generally they're on stories. But I will share like on my personal pages, I will share like regular family pictures and stuff like that. I don't post a ton, but like my mother-in-law and stuff like that does. So
How do you
yeah,
deal
I
with that? With
also
your mother-in-law posting?
I know, yeah, and my sister-in-law too. Like, well, they have like private pages and whatever, and you know, it's just their friends and family. So although they are susceptible to getting hacked, just like anybody else, especially my mom. so, so you know, it's definitely a risk, but I also just don't want to take on that battle.
Yeah, as you're choosing your battles. So it's like, what's the greater risk? Let's just, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, every grandma's gonna want to share pictures of their That's like, there's nothing more natural than that. I'm not gonna get in the way of that.
I love that. So before we go, is there something that you see within your expertise, within your social following, within your community that parents are doing that you feel that they should stop doing, or a mistake that they're making, or something that they should continue to do when it comes to online safety?
You know what? I would say kind of along the same. I don't know that I'm seeing a ton of this, but it's definitely a concern of mine with some of the content that I post and stuff, is just going to the extreme, like we were talking about before. You know, like it's just a matter of finding what makes you most comfortable while also being conscious. You know, like you wouldn't throw your kid in a pool without a life raft if they don't know how to swim. You know, you wouldn't. Hopefully, you wouldn't do that. So, kind of the same thing. Like when you learn that there's a floaty device for your online habits or whatever, use the little floaty device. Like there's still going to be a risk, right? They could still drown with a floaty device, I suppose. But you know, take that little extra step. There's, for example, I had one thing on my page that I shared. I used to have one of the mirrors for the car seat so that you can kind of like look behind you and see the baby's face. So if they're, you know, choking or whatever. So I used to have the mirrors, and I felt like it wasn't great. The angle wasn't great. I have to physically look over my shoulder to look at it. You know, I found that I was more often than not just pulling over in the car, like distracted because he was crying or something. And so I got one of the cameras instead. Now the camera is not rated. I don't think the mirrors are either, but like in the case of an accident, this could definitely become a projectile thing that could hit somebody in the face or whatever, right? So it's definitely not 100% safe. But for me, it makes me more comfortable because now if my son's crying in the back seat and I'm driving by myself, the camera is right where like a GPS would be. So it's, you know, right in your line of sight. And I could see, oh, he's not dying. That's great. So I can keep driving, or I could just put on a little song or whatever. Because I've heard some stories in the news of, you know, babies that do die because the seatbelt's too tight or something, and the mother doesn't realize it and she's crying. And I could just imagine that here you're in a situation where you think you're tightening the seatbelt because you've heard that, you know, the seatbelt has to be in a certain position. The whole car seat safety thing is crazy. So you've heard all these things, and then it turns out that you went too far. And then now, you know, so anyways, so like I've heard these stories. It's like a 1 in a million or 1 in 500 million for all I know, but it sticks with you, and then it like traumatizes you. And so, you know, that's a situation where I use the camera instead of the mirror. None of them are 100% safe, but for me, it keeps me from being a distracted driver, which is like probably way more safe than than if I didn't have it. So I think the distracted driving thing is probably a big cause of death. So anyway, so yeah, so I I don't do anything extreme. I just kind of take what works for me, but I am aware of the risk. I'm aware of the risk of that camera, but I just choose to take it. Take the
I
risk.
mean, that's how you have to do it, though. It's like you're conscious of something, you're aware of something, and then you're making an informed decision to do another thing because the greater risk is to not do it. Like, that's all safety and security is. There's always going to be something that goes up and goes down, and you have to decide. So is there something that we didn't talk about today that you felt like we should talk about or parents should know?
I don't know. Maybe the comments will.
Yeah, maybe the comments will.
No.
Yeah. I appreciate you so much because it's supposed to be your due date, and we're like chatting on your due date.
I mean, it hasn't happened yet. I don't know.
Right.
I think the baby wants to be a Leo, maybe. Which, listen, I'm a Leo. I don't blame her.
Wait, so how long until she could be a Leo? Like, when would she have to grace the world?
It would be like
presence?
a week and a half, couple days.
Okay.
So technically the Leo thing is like the 22nd at night. I looked this up. So the 23rd, you could be an official Leo. So by Monday of, not next week, but the week after.
The week after. Yes.
It's unlikely. It's unlikely. She's probably going to be a Cancer.
Oh, yay. I'm a Cancer.
My husband's a Cancer. Yeah, she'll probably be a Cancer. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. But since I'm a Leo, I am a little biased.
Yeah, I mean, just like just a little week and a half, and then you'll be a Leo. It's fine.
But you know what? I also want to like begin the healing process and all of that. So I also like, part of me is like, be a Leo. The other part of me is like, come now.
Right. Just like get out.
I want both. Yeah, exactly. Just get out. But yeah, no. So I feel like we talked, very candidly about a lot of things.
And I love that we did that. Like, I'm so enjoying this conversation because it's so balanced. Or I'm trying not to say balanced because balance makes people feel like it has to be 50-50. But like, it's so harmonious. It's so conscious. It's so freeing. And it's allowing other people to realize, oh, like security and safety, while it can be a headache, it doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. And I can't have fun and I can't enjoy myself and I can't just be online and offline. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Although you could be, if you want to be, you could definitely not be online at all.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Unplug everything.
There's people that are totally comfortable with that. I'm also like, I guess it's a little bit lazy, right? I want some conveniences.
Yeah. There's no way I would be off the grid. Maybe off the grid for like a month, 3 months, maybe 6, but like forever. No, I don't. No, I'm good. I like being off the grid.
Yeah, I think the only way I could be off the grid is if my entire community was with me.
Yeah. You're not truly off the grid either way. That's another conversation with safety. You're never really off the grid. So
it would be really hard. I don't know if it's possible today. Maybe. I don't know.
And then there's a lot of studies to say.
So
yeah, exactly. I'm like, there's a lot of studies to say that when you're off the grid, you're less secure sometimes because you're not like anchoring in your flag with your accounts and protecting your stuff, and you don't know what's happening. Because all of us, unless you were born without like, birth certificate, social security number, and you were like a family generation off the grid, that's a different thing. Like you said, a whole community. But even then, with the hospital, it just
having your
cameras
information
everywhere.
Yeah. That's actually a whole nother thing. When you're pregnant, you send, or at least my hospital both times asked for some pre-registration documents, and they just asked for it to be emailed to them. And I was like, don't you have something like a little more secure?
Right.
Like, you guys are one of the most highly targeted industries. Like,
you're not protected.
Yeah. And I'm like, and you just want a regular email, like with all my documents. I know. And I did say something via email once, and that is annoying. People look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah,
I went to get I went to get a car the other day because my lease was up, and they were like, oh, sign up for our app, whatever. I was like, all right, I get it. I was like, you guys, but they add a couple little features in there to kind of woo you in. So it's like, all right, I'll whatever, I'll sign up for it. Anyways, which I don't even know if I did. But point is, they wanted me to do it there on their computer. Oh. And as I start typing, an @ symbol or the letter C or A or whatever, all this customer information is popping up. Their emails have been saved in the browsers, the phone numbers, whatever. I'm like, so I stopped. I typed in my email. I noticed all of this, and then I stopped. I took it off, and they're like, what are you doing? I was like, you guys are not, this is not, like, who am I to have all this customer information? I now have 5 phone numbers and 5 email addresses just by standing here. And they were like, well, no, it's totally safe, whatever, those are employees. I'm like, I'm sorry, but at gmail.com is not your employee.
No.
Okay. Dealer.
And even if it is, it's like, now I know your employee. So
yeah, that's even worse, maybe. So I just stopped, and like they looked at me like they were crazy, because they were like, we get our bonuses based on signups or whatever. I was like, I'm fine with signing up from my personal device, because you guys are not, that kind of unconsciousness I hate.
It's especially when they make you feel like you're
the crazy one. I'm like, I'm not crazy. I shouldn't have access to this stuff. I shouldn't know who your most recent 5 customers. If I was a cyber criminal, right? Like, now I have emails and phone numbers where I could be like, hey, are you enjoying that new car?
Yeah. Or like, we have a new payment system. Can you click here to do your next payment and here? Or like, oh, the insurance company is saying something's wrong with this. Can you resubmit your information? Or like, anything.
I mean, they don't know who I am. I know I'm normal, but they don't know.
Yeah, they really don't. Like, it's the best hackers sometimes are honestly the people that you don't suspect are the ones. Like, especially for physical hacking. It's like, especially as a woman, like, come on. No one is suspecting you to be doing something. So
no, I think being pregnant and a woman is like the ultimate.
Oh yeah, no one's ever spent anything like whatsoever.
No. Which probably isn't good. Don't listen to that advice, people.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's hard to maintain too, to be honest. You can't do that for a lifetime. It's too much.
No, but you'll have FBI, on your door.
Yeah. And Child Protective Services.
Protective Services.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think overall I feel like we covered a lot, and there are definitely times where I think people give me looks and think I'm crazy for questioning things.
Oh, even your comments, sometimes I see they're like, oh, she's so paranoid. Oh. Those are people who are like out. I don't know. They're just, to me, when I look at it, I feel like either they're unaware, unconscious, or very, very young when I see those comments.
Or men.
Or oh my God, that's a whole other. I'm so happy my audience is like 85, 89. No, it's like 89, 90% woman. Because
I mean, I have men that follow me too that obviously don't feel that way, but usually the ones that are saying amazing. That,
but they're like, usually a percentage.
Right, exactly. I'm married to a man who doesn't feel that way. Actually, he's worse than me. But anyways, but yeah, usually it's like, just people that haven't been, I guess, exposed to a lot of stuff. I have wanted to create a series around that concept about, I think the one thing I am maybe a little bit paranoid about is like germ stuff, but that's different. But yeah, no, I'm like, I don't know. This is just something that's happening in the news. If you think it's paranoid, I guess take it up with the planet. I don't know what.
We're always thinking about safety. Like, we're always thinking about how do we stay safe? How do we do? I mean, even if you're not aware of online safety or offline safety as a woman, like you're walking somewhere, you're going to your car, you're doing something, you're always thinking about, oh my God, something can happen. How do I stay safe? Like, that's just like a natural thing that happens. And of course, when you become a mother, if you have mother instincts, most mothers do, not all of them, but a lot of them have mother instincts. So it's even more exacerbated in that moment. So it's just normal life. It's not like you're always thinking about it where it's inhibiting your ability to have fun, but you're thinking about it in just regular life. Like, you lock your door when you leave the house. You're not like, oh my God, I'm so paranoid, I have to lock my door every time I leave the house. Like, it's just, you just lock the door and keep moving.
Yeah, right. It takes 3 seconds, like, not a life altering decision here.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of the content that I share on my page is generally stuff that's pretty easy to do. Like, I'm not, like, I don't think I've shared anything that isn't like, oh, just change this setting or something.
No, it's like, change the setting, do this, enable that, delete that, or go to this website, take your data off of there. I mean, like, very
the data stuff is probably the hardest because it just takes a while.
Yeah, I mean, if you go with the service, like you said, it's easier. I feel like
Yeah.
most people should just go with the service and not even worry about anything else, unless you have like an active stalker. Then you have to go on anti-stalker, cyber stalking mode. But if you're not in that situation, just like sign up for a website, pay them, they'll do it for you. And if you don't have the funds, then you wait until you're able to have the funds to be able to pay for that. I feel like you just shouldn't
Yeah.
even worry about it at that point. Like that's just not,
Yeah.
and that's a whole other
It
discussion. We just, yeah.
yeah, and it does suck, I guess, with all of these things that we even have to pay extra for it when like other countries it's just like basic protections, but we'll get there. We'll get
Well,
there, I think.
yeah, maybe in 10, 15 years, you know.
Yeah. At some point something extreme will happen where they'll have no choice, I guess.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Well, where can people find you? How can people find you? I'll
I
put
know.
all of the information.
Yeah, sure. Probably should have put it on my little handle. I just put Kathy, but anyway, Kathy with a C, and if you type in P right after that, Kathy P, I'm like the first person that pops up, and I'm in the
She'll always pop
it's Kathy Pedrayas, but you can't spell it, so Kathy P.
Yeah, put Kathy P, and she'll pop up with her like blue, and I believe you have pearls in your profile picture. Yeah, you always have pearls.
Yeah.
And so she'll always pop up. She's always going to be the first one. No one else is going to beat her in that, okay, in anytime soon. So you'll see it.
Well, a lot of people spell Kathy with a K.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so put a C. It's a CATHYP. And then what is it like that mom friend? If they put like Kathy the mom friend?
I don't know. You know what? It might. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it. I know Kathy P comes up.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.